My name is Emily Carter. And the day my parents paid my brother's entire college tuition in cash. My father looked at me and said, "You don't need a degree. Just find a husband." Flushed heartbreak. Everyone at the dinner table laughed. Even my mother. Meanwhile, my younger brother Jason sat there smiling proudly while my dreams quietly shattered in front of me. I still remember staring at the acceptance letter from Harvard lying in my lap, knowing I had earned something nobody in my family cared about. But 10 years later, the same parents who told me education was wasted on girls stood silently outside a television studio watching reporters chant my name across national news. And suddenly, their golden son wasn't the child everyone admired anymore. My name is Emily Carter. I grew up in Atlanta, Georgia, inside a deeply traditional household. Not loving traditional, limiting traditional. My parents believed sons carried family legacy while daughters eventually belonged to future husbands. Growing up, the difference between me and my younger brother Jason was painfully obvious. Jason got opportunities. I got expectations. Jason received expensive tutors. I learned cooking and cleaning. Jason played sports after school. I babysat cousins for free. And every time I questioned the unfairness, Mom always repeated, "Life is different for girls." Different. That word haunted my childhood. Especially because academically, I outperformed Jason constantly. Straight A's, academic competitions, scholarships. I loved learning more than anything. Books felt like escape routes. While Jason barely passed several classes despite private tutors and endless support. But none of that mattered inside our home. Because in my parents' eyes, Jason's future represented investment. Mine represented temporary responsibility until marriage. I still remember the night everything changed permanently. Senior year of high school. I received acceptance letters from multiple universities, including Harvard. My guidance counselor cried hugging me. Teachers celebrated. Even relatives called congratulating me. For one brief moment, I genuinely believed my parents would finally feel proud. That evening Dad invited everyone to dinner. I thought maybe they planned celebrating both me and Jason because he got accepted into a decent state university. Instead, the entire dinner became about him. Dad announced proudly, "We're paying Jason's full tuition." Everyone applauded. Then Mom smiled toward me casually and said, "Emily won't need all that student debt anyway." I frowned confused. "What do you mean?" Dad laughed softly. "You don't need degrees. Just find a husband." The table erupted with awkward laughter. My stomach dropped instantly. I thought they were joking. They weren't. I whispered carefully, "You're not helping me pay for college." Dad looked genuinely confused why I felt upset. Why would we spend hundreds of thousands on education you probably won't use? Probably won't use. I sat there frozen while my acceptance letters remained folded silently beside my plate. Then Mom added, "A smart husband matters more for women than fancy degrees." That sentence shattered something inside me permanently. Not because of money, because my dreams suddenly felt invisible to the people who were supposed believing in me most. That night I cried until sunrise. Then the next morning, I accepted every scholarship possible and secretly decided something life-changing. I would succeed without them. No matter how hard it became. College years nearly destroyed me physically and emotionally. While Jason enjoyed fraternity parties funded entirely by my parents, I worked constantly, waitressing, tutoring, library night shifts. Sometimes I slept only 3 hours between classes and work. Meanwhile my parents continued treating Jason like family pride. Every phone call focused on him. Jason made Dean's List. Jason joined a business club. Jason might buy a BMW. Nobody asked whether I ate properly. Nobody asked if I was exhausted. Still, I refused quitting, because every difficult night fueled me harder. By graduation, I earned top honors in business analytics. And unlike Jason, I graduated debt-free through scholarships and relentless work. You'd think my parents finally respected me after that. Nope. At my graduation dinner, Dad introduced me proudly to guests as our daughter Emily. She's still single. Single. Not successful. Not brilliant. Single. Meanwhile Jason received endless praise despite barely finishing college. Then life started exposing reality slowly. Jason struggled keeping jobs, made reckless financial decisions, partied constantly, but my parents kept rescuing him financially over and over again. Rent payments, car loans, credit card debt. They treated irresponsibility like temporary bad luck. Meanwhile, I quietly built my career from nothing. Entry-level analyst, promotions, corporate leadership programs. Eventually I founded my own financial consulting firm in Chicago. Long nights, constant stress, years of sacrifice. But slowly, everything changed. Clients grew, revenue exploded, my company expanded nationally. By 34, I became one of the youngest female executives featured in a major financial magazine. And ironically, the daughter supposedly needing just a husband, now employed over 80 people. Meanwhile, Jason's life completely unraveled. Failed businesses, gambling debt, alcohol problems. Still, my parents defended him endlessly. He's under pressure. Men struggle differently. Funny how daughters receive criticism while sons receive excuses. Then came the phone call changing everything. Dad suffered a mild stroke unexpectedly. Hospital bills piled quickly because my parents secretly drained retirement savings rescuing Jason repeatedly over the years. Apparently Jason also borrowed heavily from them recently and disappeared afterward. Suddenly the family faced financial collapse. And for the first time ever, my parents called me asking for help. I flew to Atlanta immediately despite everything. Seeing Dad weak inside that hospital bed hurt deeply. Because no matter how painful our history was, he was still my father. Mom cried the second she saw me. Not from pride, fear, she whispered, "We don't know what to do." And honestly, part of me wanted screaming. Part of me wanted asking where all this desperation was when I needed support years earlier. But another part, the stronger part, simply handled the crisis. I paid hospital expenses, hired financial advisors, stabilized their situation quietly, not because they earned it. Because kindness shouldn't depend entirely on fairness. Then came the moment I'll never forget. Several weeks later, a national business network invited me for a live television interview about women leading financial innovation. Huge opportunity, massive audience. The studio invited my family attending backstage if they wanted. Mom practically begged coming, Dad too. The interview went beautifully. The host discussed my company growth, leadership journey, and challenges as a woman in finance. Then near the end, she asked, "What inspired you proving yourself so relentlessly?" The studio became quiet, and honestly, I considered lying politely, but suddenly I remembered 18-year-old Emily sitting silently at that dinner table believing her dreams mattered less because she was born female. So I told the truth. Calmly, respectfully, I explained how my parents funded my brother's education while telling me women didn't need degrees. The audience gasped softly. The host looked stunned. Then I added, "Their limitations became my motivation." Silence filled the studio briefly. Then applause erupted everywhere. Huge applause. Backstage cameras accidentally captured my parents' faces during the moment. Dad looked devastated. Mom cried quietly, covering her mouth. Because for the first time, they realized their words didn't simply hurt my feelings. They shaped my entire life. After the interview ended, Dad approached me privately. His voice shook emotionally. Then he whispered, "I was wrong about you." I stared at him quietly. Because deep down, I always knew he was wrong. I just spent years needing him realizing it too. Then unexpectedly, Dad started crying. Actual tears. "We failed you." That sentence healed something inside me I didn't realize still hurt. Not completely. Some wounds never disappear fully. But acknowledgement matters, especially from people who once dismissed your worth. Today I'm 36 years old. My company funds scholarships specifically for young women denied educational opportunities because of outdated beliefs. Every year we help hundreds of girls attend universities their families refuse supporting. And every time I sign scholarship letters, I think about the girl who once sat silently holding a Harvard acceptance letter while everyone laughed at her dreams. If I could speak to her now, I'd tell her something important. Never let small-minded people decide how big your future can become. Limiting girls based on outdated gender expectations destroys confidence, dreams, and opportunities. Education is never wasted on someone willing to learn and grow. And sometimes the people who underestimate you become the very reason you succeed beyond imagination. Your worth is not determined by gender, marriage, or society's expectations. If this story touched your heart, thumbs up, like this video. Bell, subscribe for more emotional stories. Speech balloon, comment below. Do you think families still treat sons and daughters differently today? Flushed heartbreak.